Las Vegas just quietly took a massive step toward a brand new transportation network powered by the Boring Company. It's tying the airport into the Strip ecosystem, and somehow this isn't the biggest story in town. What's up? My name is WalkerLieb. I break down what's happening in Las Vegas and what it means for the market, neighborhoods, and your next move. Today, we're talking about the Boring Company's Las Vegas Loop, what Phase 1 actually is, and what's coming next in early 2026. And the two things that decide whether this moves fast or whether it crawls. And that's permits and water. So stay until the end because I'm gonna share something that sounds crazy, but it matters a lot for where Vegas is headed. Before we jump in, subscribe to my YouTube. I post Vegas updates like this every week so you stay ahead of what's changing in the city. So first, here's what happened. Phase 1 is real and it's already operating. What most people missed is this. Airport rides have already been happening in a limited rollout connected to Harry Reid since late December of 2025. It's not the full underground airport station experience yet. It's a mix of loop tunnel and surface operations. But the key point is simple. It is running. They've even posted early details like pricing and hours. For example, rides have been listed around $12 per person from certain stations to Terminal 1 or Terminal 3. And posted hours in this early phase have been around 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. So here's my take. This is how big infrastructure begins to become unstoppable. Limited rollout, then the proof of concept, and then expansion. Now the 2026 milestone that matters is the University Center Loop and the first airport station. The Boring Company says this section is already under construction, and it's expected to include the first station that serves Harry Reid International Airport, and it's targeted for the first quarter of 2026. That corridor matters because it matches how people actually move in Las Vegas. You have UNLV, Paradise Road, and major venues. And that spine between airport activity and the Strip and downtown, that all is meaningful. So here's the real estate lens. When you compress airport to city travel time, then demand shifts. Areas that feel close to everything get more attractive, even if they're not in the middle of chaos. Now, let's talk scale. Because this is where it stops sounding like a gimmick. The long-term approved plan is huge. 68 miles of tunnel. That's 104 stations. That would be around the Strip and into downtown, with major nodes like Allegiant Stadium and other key areas. The Boring Company has talked about capacity targets. So always best case numbers here, but it's still useful for context. With the airport line opening, they've talked about 17 to 20,000 people per hour. In the full build out, they floated numbers like 90,000 people per hour. If Vegas gets a real station network, this becomes a mobility layer for the entire city and not just a tourist novelty. Now, the two bottlenecks that decides how fast this really grows. The first is water. Yes, water in Vegas. The Boring Company has said that the water table is typically between 8 to 20 feet underground, and the loop tunnels are going to be 30 feet underground. So in many places, they're working below the water table. That adds complexity to drilling and it adds long-term complexity to things like maintenance. The second bottleneck is permits. And this is the one that can really speed things up or slow everything down. For the initial 68-mile plan, the Boring Company's president said that the full build out needs over 600 permits, and currently they have only about 100. So if you want the upside, permitting has to move much faster, and the project has to keep trust with clean compliance and clear communication, which brings me to the reality. Scrutiny is part of the story. This isn't getting universal hype because the Boring Company has faced questions about safety, environmental issues, and transparency. That impacts public confidence. And speed requires trust. Trust comes from consistent execution. So let's talk about Vegas to Phoenix, because this is the most important thing in my eyes long term. People won't let it go. The Boring Company has talked about intercity tunneling as a hypothetical, and they've pointed to permitting as a major obstacle. In local coverage, Steve Davis used Vegas to Phoenix as an example and framed it as something that could be privately funded if permitting existed. Whether that specific project happens soon or not, the bigger point still matters. Vegas sits in the middle of a fast-growing southwest corridor. Better mobility supports business flow. It supports diversification of the economy. It supports jobs. And when you look at what's been growing here, manufacturing, warehousing, and distribution centers have been big. Reliable transportation infrastructure can be the fuel that adds to that momentum. I also think about how big industries change when they're allowed to move faster. SpaceX went from rare launches to frequent launches, and the pace changed what was possible. If the Boring Company gets more runway here, you could see a similar effect on how fast we could build the infrastructure. Now, let's bring it back to you. What does this mean for buyers, sellers, and relocators? If you're a buyer, watch out for station clusters and corridors where time to core destinations become shorter. Don't buy the hype. By confirmed progress. If you're a seller, verified access improvements can become a pricing and marketing advantage, but don't price off of speculation. If you're relocating, a city that's easier to move around just feels smaller, and that's exactly what high-intent relocators want. Here's the bottom line. The Boring Company's Vegas Loop has moved into real operations plus expansion. Limited airport rides are now live, and the next major segment aims for early 2026. The full plan, 68 miles and 104 stations, which would reshape movement patterns across the Strip and downtown. And the two deciding factors are still permits and water. If you want more Vegas updates that actually matter, subscribe to my YouTube right now and drop a comment. Do you want Vegas to connect to Phoenix, or is fixing local congestion the priority first? Let me know.